Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. We're here today with David Johnston, Senior Director of Loss Prevention and Corporate Security for Dunkin Brands, and Van Carney, National Director, Safety and Loss Prevention for Domino's Pizza. Together, these two brands represent over 30,000 locations worldwide, and their organizations are directly impacted by the global events we hear in the news every day, as these incidents have taken place in public venues with restaurants and shoppers feeling the full force of their destruction and terror. Here in the States, we're also seeing an increase in violence and robberies as well. How are the global issues impacting us domestically? And how are we responding to this increase in domestic violence and robberies? We'll be answering some of those questions in this session. David and Van, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You know, gentlemen, what are some of the trends or issues you're seeing specifically in your restaurant environments pertaining to robberies and violence?
Can you take that first? Sure. Gus, at Domino's, we are seeing a slight increase with in-store robbery. We're seeing a little bit bigger increase with driver robbery. One of the things that we did at Domino's recently, and the reason I start to see a trend, is we've improved our communication with how we're intaking information and then putting it back into the field in the hands of those franchisees that we think need to know what's happening. So as an example, we do have a hotline where information is called in. We do monitor social media to see what type of robberies are taking place that hit the media that maybe we didn't know about for in-store robbery. The area that we have probably the biggest impact of increase is with driver robbery. Now, good news, bad news. Good news is Domino's is doing quite well sale-wise. And so we've got more drivers on the road than ever before, which means a greater opportunity. We also have instituted a program where when we get this information into our hotline, we have franchisees in major metropolitan areas, multiple franchisees. We'll send that information out to everybody to put them on alert about what's happened, to try to work with police departments to be able to put out the word. And I think because of that, what happens is we have better reporting from our franchisees than ever before.
Excellent. And, I mean, based on these issues, I mean, are you doing anything more specific to help with the increase in the robberies and violence?
We are. A couple of different programs that we decided that we would institute deals with trying to develop a better relationship with police departments. And we didn't really necessarily recreate the wheel, but there are a lot of different organizations that are out there that can help build a relationship between police and retail, and specifically restaurants. And so, as an example, we have a franchisee that we've gained a lot of information from that has set up a basketball league with the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police.
Sure.
And what we do with that then is, we give pizza to the kids that come out. And in turn, that develops that relationship for when we have a problem that we want to try to get the word out, work with media, work with the police. They're more liked to help us because we're helping them. Also, in addition to that, one of the programs that we started to really make an impact to say we wanted to displace crime from Domino's, we started a reward program. And this reward program is such that if we have a franchisee that is having a significant robbery issue, we will offer up as a franchisor up to $2,500 for arrest and conviction, and they can match that. And therefore, as an example, we may be able to have a $5,000 reward that we can put out on the street, and hopefully someone would report to the police about the activity that's happened and therefore make an arrest quickly. And that helps in a lot of other different aspects of the business so people don't start to quit because they don't want to work in an unsafe environment.
Right, right. You know, David, as a brand with 100% franchise locations, what do you do to help your franchise owners understand the concern over violence or robberies?
Yeah. Well, as a franchisor, we do play a different role. We play more of a consultative role, where we can't really help them in directing the creation of a program. But very similar to Van and what he does on the Domino side, we really stress the importance of communication about these incidents because, our franchisees may have an area where, a specific area or region where robbery and violence may be taking place, but we will collect the entire subsets of data and then help the entire nation understand what the trends are and what we're seeing. On top of that, we do provide them with various suggested practices, industry resources, and try to provide connects so that they can meet with law enforcement in their areas and try to build that relationship.
Van, how are you working with law enforcement to help your restaurants, which of course are scattered throughout so many states? You named a couple. Are there any others? Any other programs that you have?
Yes, David mentioned a Connect. A Connect is something that with the RLPSA, Restaurant Loss Prevention Security
Right.
Association, we were having a significant issue in Houston with robbery. And a group of us came together. We reached out to law enforcement. We invited other retailers, including many different restaurants of where these robberies were taking place, and we started to develop a relationship with them. Since then, we've been able to improve that Connect that David spoke about, to be able to roll that out into cities such as Chicago. We're going to have one very soon in Los Angeles. We're going to have one in November down in Atlanta. And what that does is that it enables folks that maybe didn't ordinarily have a good relationship with law enforcement, it helps build that. In addition, what it does is it shows law enforcement what else we do then as far as a franchisor. We have learning modules that are set up to try to show the different ways of how robbery takes place. We invite law enforcement to come out and in many cases actually do the training. It's a big difference than when someone like me walks in versus someone that's got a gun strapped to them and they're talking about really what happens in the neighborhood. That makes a huge impact. So those are just a couple of the programs that we've put in place. And then lastly, I would say, when I talk about the RLPSA, we've created a safety video, but more importantly, speaking to robbery, here within the coming months, working with other restaurants, we're going to be putting out another type of video that's related just to robbery about how to set up a robbery prevention training series.
Both of you sit on the board of the Restaurant Loss Prevention and Safety and Security Association. What is RLPSA doing to assist your segment in education or awareness to the concerns involving robberies?
Well, as Van had mentioned, he talked about a couple of the elements that we have in our programs. One of the staples is that annually we work with CAP Index to provide a membership survey, and we do a crime trend study. So we're looking at elements such as robberies, burglaries, assaults, as well as some of the protective measures that our industry segment is using specifically to help mitigate these losses. And that's really the foundation, the cornerstone for what we, as an industry segment, see in those areas, and then it provides us an opportunity as members to sit down with solution providers and try to come up with some of the things that can help, keep our people safe and mitigate our losses.
As the world continues to see more and more incidents of violence being associated with or inspired by terrorism, do these events have any significance in your role domestically? A question to both of you.
Oh, absolutely. I have global responsibilities when it comes to security and loss prevention, so I'm looking at these events on a regular basis. However, we're starting to see a real change. The world is getting smaller. Incidents and events are taking place in areas where we never thought they would previously. So, even the new face of terror is a different face. We're starting to see things where the targets are being more indiscriminate. They're not political, they're not government, they're not military. We're seeing them in the public places, the shopping centers, the markets, and so forth. We're seeing less sophisticated weapons. So they're handheld, guns, small arm explosives, vehicles. And even the terrorists themselves are are smaller. We're not seeing the cells, we're seeing the lone wolves, the radicalized individual online. This comes into a large play domestically because what happens in Paris, what happens in Belgium, we've seen happen here in Ohio and New York and New Jersey and other areas of our country. So taking the global events and understanding what's happening globally and how it will affect us domestically is really how we have to continue to look to see how do we keep our people safe from acts of violence that can now happen anywhere, anytime, any place.
Van?
I agree with David. But in addition, one of the things with everything that he said so well that we try to do, obviously the D&D Daily, getting that information, communication about what's happening around the world and what's happening domestically is very important. We can develop programs around that. The other thing that it allows us to do is to develop contacts with other different types of companies to be able to see what they're doing to combat some of this crime. In addition, both David and I, we're not just members of the RLPSA, we're members of DSAC and OSAC. Those types of organizations help us domestically and also internationally because we're both global companies. And with all of that data, we hope to be able to understand the trends that David spoke about to put the programs in place to try to prevent it from happening instead of trying to react to it.
What are some of the things that you've done professionally or within your company to assist you in mitigating some of the risk associated with terrorism?
Yeah, I think being part of these information sharing associations, in particular with local, regional, and federal government agencies. I've seen over the last few years, the federal agencies, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, they're definitely opening up their doors, trying to create better partnerships with businesses. And we're just not talking the physical threat. We've got a whole nother subset, which is the cyber threat aspect of it. And to be able to sit down at the table and have those communication points and to be able to talk about the issues and also to be able to have more of an open channel of communication both to the federal government, state, local government, but also back to us, we found it very beneficial to help us understand things and to allow us to put certain elements of our program in place to quickly get a quicker response should something happen or should any of our employees be in need.
And I would only add that, since we are a global company, we have folks that travel internationally every single day, Gus. And one of the things that we've done, we've worked with a large company to be able to institute a safety and security program globally. And part of that would deal with response, but also prevention. And so last year, as we hired in quite a few new people, we did security training to let them know about what happens in different regions around the world. And we are able, if they key in the information to our travel agency, where they're going to, they can get a security update. So we're trying to put, again, information in the hands of them to make good business decisions to keep them safe.
Yeah, and if I'd like to add one more piece. I think talking to some folks, both Van and I have responsibilities globally, but there are retailers out there that may think that because I don't have retail locations or restaurants globally, do I have to pay attention to it? And you do. You have to look at your supply chain. You have to look at your manufacturing. It may not be the number of employees that we may have traveling on a daily basis overseas, but I know that you have some that are going over and visiting places like China, Middle East, and even Southeast Asia in order to support their businesses.
Good point. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Gus.
Well, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.